What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Kansas City Chiefs live post-game show on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com, and I'm here to break down this Kansas City Chiefs 41-10 victory over the Chicago Bears. The Kansas City Chiefs swiftly take care of the Chicago Bears in this one. Here's the thing, guys. I'm going to be running solo today. Michael Darcy is out. He is sick again. He's really been going through it the past few weeks. He's been powering through all these post-game shows, all these videos while being sick. And today he just couldn't get up and do another one. So it's going to be just me today. But with that being said, for those of you that are here while I'm doing this, I'm going to be relying on you guys today, leaving comments, questions, all that good stuff. So if you're here, please throw down your thoughts below, and I will be sure to get to all of them. And I will definitely do some kind of one-on-one interaction with you guys, the fans of the channel. But while I'm waiting for you guys to kind of fill the chat with your own questions and comments, I'm going to start breaking down this game. So this game went exactly how everyone expected it to go, how everyone hoped for it to go. The Chiefs won convincingly, and the game was over by halftime. When Michael and I did our Kingdom Crew podcast earlier this week, our preview for the Chicago Bears, we said this game should be over by halftime. The Chiefs should absolutely run away with this one, and if they don't, we know that they have some problems, and this was a game where the offense needed to get right. And, well, here we have it. They got right. They defeat Chicago 41-10. Patrick Mahomes throws for 272 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he didn't play at all in the second half, really. I think he played like one drive, but he was awesome today. He did have an injury scare, but he seems to be okay. He did say after the game that he could have played the whole game if he wanted to. And then at first he was a little worried just because it was the same ankle that he hurt last year, but he's fine. Seems to have just been a stinger. But also I got to say that I thought it was a little dirty by Yannick Ngakoue falling on Patrick Mahomes like that. There was no reason for Yannick Ngakoue to fall on Patrick Mahomes like that. It seemed a little bit dirty. It seemed a little bit intentional. That's just my opinion. But I didn't really appreciate that from him. I expect better from him. As far as other players on offense, Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries for 62 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 15 carries for 55 yards. The running game, even though the numbers don't pop out at you, I thought the Chiefs ran the ball pretty effectively, at least when Isaiah Pacheco was getting the bulk of the carries in this game. I was actually kind of surprised they ran Isaiah Pacheco as much as they did because he was questionable coming into this game and he has a hamstring injury. So I thought they would try to kind of have him on a pitch count, but that's not really what they did. I mean, they really kind of gave him everything he could handle today. But he looked really good, and he helped the Kansas City Chiefs sustain drives. Mahomes said after the game in his post-game interview on the sidelines that he thinks the biggest difference in the offense being as effective as it was today was getting the run game going. That's another thing I talked about with Michael Darcy in our Kingdom Crew podcast earlier this week is that I want to see the run game get established in this one. I know this team likes to throw the ball. I know that they're always going to do that. They're always going to pass more than they throw, pass more than they run. But you need to get the run game going, especially against a team like Chicago. Chicago's been a bottom 5 defense this year. They're allowing nearly 400 yards of offense per game. And I actually have the stats in front of me here. The Kansas City Chiefs had 456 total yards of offense today, 303 of them passing, and of course, 153 rushing. The Chiefs averaged 6.1 yards per play. They were 10 of 14 on third down. They had 31 first downs. 31 first downs to Chicago's 11 first downs. I mean, that is quite the discrepancy. They ran 75 total plays. Time of possession, they had the ball for over 36 minutes while the Bears only held the ball for 23 minutes. Pass catchers, Travis Kelce was today's leading receiver. He had 7 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. And I was so happy to see him get that touchdown. because Taylor Swift, excuse me, was in the building today, and it's no secret anymore, guys. Like, they are a couple. She was sitting up there next to Donna Kelsey. Like, this thing is official, man. I mean, she's met the parents and everything. She's sitting in Travis Kelsey's suite for the game. She made her way out to Arrowhead today. And I think it's awesome. I like having Taylor Swift on our side. I am not a Swiftie by any means, but I think it's cool. Good for Travis Kelsey. And he gave her a good show today. 7 catches for 69 yards again. Good for him. Rashee Rice was right behind Travis Kelsey. 5 catches for 59 yards. I thought Rashee Rice looked really good today. Had a couple really nice catches and got stopped at the 1-yard line on 2 of them. I really wish he was able to get a touchdown today. But I really like how he's coming along in this offense. He averaged 11.8 yards per reception today. Also, I should say, though, that one interception from Blaine Gabbert, that was on Rashee Rice. He's got to have that. Rashee Rice has been really good so far, in my opinion, but he seems to have at least one back-breaking drop each game, and that's got to get cleaned up. The drops were an issue in preseason. They were an issue when he was at SMU, and I just really hope he can clean that up because he's really electric, and he's electric with the ball in his hands, but problem most of the time seems to be getting the ball to actually stay in his hands. Justin Watson had 2 catches for 51 yards. Justin Watson has earned my respect back. I was kind of down on him in the offseason. I was kind of down on him making this team during preseason and training camp, but he's kind of shut me up. He's quietly been maybe the Chiefs' best receiver this year. He's already up to, if I can pull his stats up real quick, 107 receiving yards on the year. He's averaging 21.4 yards per reception. Justin Watson getting it done. Who else stood out, really? Jerick McKinnon in the receiving game. Such a Jerick McKinnon stat line, looking at the box score. 3 catches for 19 yards. 2 of his 3 catches were for touchdowns. I love using Jerick McKinnon in the red zone. It just works every single time they do it. Just some sort of dump off or hand off to Jerick McKinnon. Usually it works out, man. Like, Jerick McKinnon is that Swiss Army knife. He's the perfect 3rd down running back for this offense. Mahomes loves going to him. Jerick McKinnon is one of this team's most reliable receivers, and he's a running back. So, I like what I see from him all the time. I'm going to read some of your guys' comments. And again, for those of you who have just joined, it's just me today. Michael is out. He is sick. So I'm going to be relying on you guys for some post-game discussion. I'd love to answer your questions. If you have any, go ahead and throw them down. But Jerry Lump says, Chiefs need to sign a veteran receiver. That was kind of my thoughts, especially in the first half and that first offensive drive that ended after a Rashee Rice drop. He kind of quit on his route a little bit. I said to myself, man, I would love if the Chiefs just added one more legit receiver, and they have the opportunity to do so now because Richie James is on IR. I don't know how long he's going to be on IR, but it seems like it's going to be for quite a bit. That's the way Andy Reid made it sound earlier this week. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but yeah, you just feel like this team would really benefit from adding a reliable veteran. And maybe some of these guys step up. Sky Moore also had a decent game today. I should shout him out. He was all right. 4 catches for 42 yards. All the receivers kind of got involved. MVS had a catch for 37 yards. Got a touchdown, robbed of him from that Juwan Taylor penalty, which I'll get to in a little bit. And I'm going to go on a rant about the Juwan Taylor thing because I am fed up with what the refs are doing to him. But, yeah, I agree with you for the most part, Jerry. I would love if the Chiefs added a veteran. I just don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I don't know if they will. They're already carrying 7 receivers. Richie James is on IR now, but that still has them carrying 6. And the Chiefs usually didn't carry more than 6 before this year. And I think they're trying to get these young guys going. And you kind of stunt their growth a little bit. You kind of block them from doing that if you bring in a veteran. So it's a tricky situation. I think by week 6 or 7, if nothing has really changed with this wide receiver core, if no one's stepping up, if the Chiefs don't feel good about it, Brett Veach could be aggressive and go make a move. We'll have to see. But for now, I think the Chiefs are going to ride it out with the young guys that they have. Eddie Rose, nice to see you. MIZ, Tigers are 4-0. After Vandy next week, they should be 5-0, and then they'll be hosting LSU at Faroe Field. Should be electric. HFA Recon says Broncos country, let's cry. What a disaster the Broncos are, man. What a disaster. How do you let an NFL team put up 70 points on you? 70 points. That's like, you usually only see that kind of stuff in college. Like when a blue blood goes up against like an FCS school, you should never be getting 70 points hung on you in the NFL. That is embarrassing. If I'm a Broncos player, I'm like questioning my life right now. Frank Clark, how you doing, bud? Hope you're enjoying it over there in Denver. I'm sure that locker room culture is great, and Frank Clark is fixing it all up. I mean, bravo, Denver. That Sean Payton hire is looking great, too. All you can do is laugh, man. Mateo Burgess says, thoughts on Justin Watson so far? Yeah, I just talked about him a little bit ago. He's kind of earned my respect back a little bit. I was down on him in the offseason. I was down on him making this team in preseason and training camp. But, man, he just, Mahomes trusts him, and he's reliable most of the time. His drops got a little bit annoying last year, but so far this year, he seems to have done pretty well. He did have that one bad fumble last week against Jacksonville, but that was also a nice play by the Jags defense. So credit to Justin Watson. He's quietly been one of the Chiefs' best receivers, and I can't lie about that. Isaiah Neves, good to see you, man. Of course, I lose my fantasy again. LOL. Glad the Chiefs won, though. I was hoping we could do what the Dolphins did to the Falcons. Yeah, or I'm sure you meant Broncos. I'm sorry. I read your thing as Falcons. The Broncos. So, the thing about that is Andy Reid is never going to run up the score like that. He just doesn't. I mean, he took the starters out basically in the second half. The Dolphins, on the other hand, they were out for blood. Andy Reid's never going to do that. As long as Andy Reid is the head coach, you will never see the Kansas City Chiefs score 70 points in the game. It's just not going to happen. But if they were ever going to, today would have been the game to do it. He could have left Mahomes in there and let him throw for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns, but that's just not who Andy Reid is. Yeah. Marlon, what's up, bud? Is Taylor getting picked on? I'm glad you asked, because I'm ready to go on this rant about Juwan Taylor. He is absolutely getting picked on. I am sick and tired of the refs calling this bullcrap on Juwan Taylor, especially today, because the play in which they called him or called that penalty on him, he wasn't even lined up wrong. He was doing nothing wrong at all. If you go back and look at the replay, Donovan Smith was lined up further back than Juwan Taylor was. They didn't call anything on Donovan Smith. The commentators in week 1 versus the Lions they're ruining Juwan Taylor's career right now, because Juwan Taylor is now being forced to play in a way that is completely different from the way he's played since he entered the NFL. And I feel sorry for the dude. I really do. And look, if the NFL wants to crack down on lining up illegally, fine, whatever. But at least be consistent across the board and try to make it seem like you're at least being honest with the other tackles, because so many other right tackles in the league do exactly what Juwan Taylor is doing. Mitchell Schwartz did it when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. And for some reason, when Juwan Taylor does it, it's a problem. And it's like they're just picking on him. They're singling him out. It's ridiculous. And I'm seeing all these tweets about Juwan Taylor on my timeline on Twitter. Oh my God, Juwan Taylor this, Juwan Taylor that. What a bust he's been. Juwan Taylor needs to be better. Juwan Taylor's been fine. Juwan Taylor's been doing what he's been doing since he entered the league. And he's been one of the best right tackles in the league. He was at the time the Chiefs signed him. This is ridiculous what they're doing to him. Couple post-game quotes as well from Mahomes and Reid on Juwan Taylor. This is what Patrick Mahomes had to say on Juwan Taylor. He said that, and this is from Pete Sweeney on Twitter, at PG Sween. Patrick Mahomes said that he didn't know, I'm sorry, wrong one. Patrick Mahomes on the penalties to Juwan Taylor. It's wild to me. He said he doesn't know why they keep picking on him. And then Andy Reid also threw in something to say about Juwan Taylor. If I could find it real quick. Sorry, guys. I'm searching for this on Twitter on the fly. Just give me a second. Here's Patrick Mahomes' full quote. He said, "It's wild to me. When you go back and look at the tablet, They're both in the same spot. I don't understand it. I know it's hard to officiate, but I watch a lot of tape, and he's no further back than any other tackle in the league. Andy Reid on Juwan Taylor. I thought we were being picked on a little today. I thought it was too much. And guys, Andy Reid is very reluctant to ever say anything about the refs, to ever say anything about officiating. Andy Reid saying that is the equivalent of any other coach going off and getting fined by the refs. Like when Andy Reid is saying that, you know it's bad. And then Patrick Mahomes too. Like Patrick Mahomes is the guy that's like going to target anybody. He's not outspoken like that. For Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to go out there or go up there on that podium and bat for Juwan Taylor the way they did, you know that something's going on. Like this is bullcrap. It's bullcrap what they're doing to Juwan Taylor, man. He's being targeted by the refs, even at times when he's not doing anything wrong. And it sucks because it's completely overshadowing the fact that he's been amazing at pass blocking. He's by far their best pure pass blocker, but it's all overshadowed by how many penalties he has this year, and half of them are bullshit. Ridiculous. I'm real sick of it. HFA Recon says Sky Moore looked good again, had a couple of good catches. I agree, man. He had a couple really nice catches today, kept the chains moving. This is all I've been wanting to see from him. We saw glimpses last week too against Jacksonville. I was really down on him there for a second. I'm like, come on, man. Like you've been playing for over a season now in this offense. When are we going to see something? And he's slowly starting to grasp a role in this offense. It's nice to see. Yeah, man. Get right game for the offense. It really was. By the way, for those of you that have just joined as of the last few minutes, it's just me tonight since Michael was out sick. Just want to reiterate that. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to talk about Chiefs related down below, throw it down there. And I will get to it. I will interact with you guys tonight. I'm going to be relying on you guys for a lot of my content in this post-game show since I'm flying solo. It was great to see the offense be as efficient as they were today. I mean, really, you couldn't ask for much better. 10 of 14 on third down, 31 first downs. They were great, man. They really were. Blaine Gabbert, of course, when he came in, threw 2 bad interceptions, but and one of them was kind of on Rashee Rice, like I said. But for the most part, man, this offense was awesome. It's not like Blaine Gabbert's going to be playing or anything like that unless Patrick Mahomes goes down, which hopefully he doesn't. And also speaking of that Juwan Taylor penalty, the bullshit one where he didn't even do anything wrong. He wasn't even lined up any further back than Donovan Smith. Patrick, they called that penalty. So it was a touch. The result of the play was a touchdown to MBS. They call it back, and then Patrick Mahomes gets injured on the next play. And it really pisses me off that would have never happened if not for the fact that the refs are targeting Juwan Taylor. Yeah, man, I'm impressed by this offense. It was really good to see them do what they did. Now, this is the Chicago Bears. They're terrible this year. A lot of dysfunction in that organization. So I don't want to go prancing around saying this offense is back to being the best in the league. We got to see it against a legit opponent because this game was honestly a joke and it was over basically as soon as it started. But you didn't want them to go out there and look bad against the Chicago Bears. So they did all you could ask for. But let's see it again. Let's see it again next week and the week after that. Moving on to the defense, though, they've really been the story, guys. They have awesome holding the Chicago Bears to 10 points, and they kind of got. They really should have pitched a shutout, but unfortunately, the Blaine Gabbert interceptions just they gave the Bears great field position. The Bears were able to score 10 points there very late in the second half. But still, even despite the Bears scoring 10 points, the Chiefs are number 2 in the NFL in scoring defense. They've only allowed 3 touchdowns so far this year. They've been absolute lights out. HFA Recon, I'm going to throw his comment up real quick. He says, defense looks really legit. Chris Jones played amazing. And this is for all the Chris Jones haters out there, all the people that were saying, oh, this team doesn't need Chris Jones when he was having his holdout. This defense looks completely different when Chris Jones is playing on it. He is leader of this defense. He's the star of this defense. He looks like a defensive player of the year candidate. Chris Jones is the man. And shame on all of you Chiefs fans that were saying this team doesn't need Chris Jones, because he is integral to what they do. And he had another sack today. He looked awesome, came up clutch on third down with one of his sacks. The Chiefs defense held the Bears to 203 total yards of offense. Justin Fields was only 11 of 22 for 99 yards, 1 touchdown, and an interception. Threw an interception to Mike Edwards, the Chiefs safety. I think this might be it for Justin Fields, man. I was never a believer in Justin Fields. I thought after seeing him last year, that's kind of when I was done with him. That's kind of when I was thinking that he wasn't really going to do anything. He doesn't have any pocket presence. He doesn't have any anticipation in his throws. He just looks like an utter disaster. Now, the organization around him hasn't been great either, but it's like at this point, you haven't shown anything. It's getting kind of late in the game for Justin Fields to prove himself. And the Chiefs defense just made him look like he had no idea what he was doing at all. He did have 11 carries for 47 yards, but I know a lot of his rushing yards kind of came in the second half after the game was already over. DJ Moore was their leading receiver. He had 3 catches for 41 yards. The Chiefs defense absolutely locked down, and that was without Nick Bolton. That was without their green dot out there. And speaking of the linebackers, I thought the linebackers looked fantastic without Nick Bolton today. Drew Tranquil is this team's best linebacker. He showed it today, and increased opportunity. Leo Chenal, I noticed him too on a few pass rush snaps. There was one play in the second half too where he just bulldozed his blocker. I want to say it was the running back for the Chicago Bears that was blocking on that play, and Leo Chenal just annihilated him and had a really good rush on Justin Fields. I love this linebacking unit. It's the best that it's been in a long time. Even Willie Gay was out there making plays. Willie Gay was absolutely flying around. I loved watching him today. There was one play, it was a fumble recovery, I think, and he was hopping up and down right before the play. He looked like he knew what the play was. He looked like he knew he was going to happen. Jumps right on it, makes the tackle, and I think he forced the fumble as well as recovered it. Really enjoyed watching him today. This defense absolutely got after it. Drew Tranquil was their leading tackler with 8 combined tackles. Trent McDuffie, I thought, looked really good today. Let's see what else I have in my notes from the defense. Yeah, I mean, really, the Chris Jones sack, I got to say, too, I mentioned in Kingdom Crew with Michael Darcy that look for the Chiefs to exploit Darnell Wright, the rookie tackle for the Chicago Bears, by moving Chris Jones to the edge and seeing what he can do against a rookie. That's exactly what they did. They put Chris Jones right up against Darnell Wright, and Chris Jones owned that matchup and got to Justin Fields for his sack. I knew they were going to do it. I called it, man. I called it. I knew they were going to do that. Chris Jones has been an absolute monster rushing off the edge this year. I know many of us didn't like when the Chiefs moved him out to edge full time a few years ago at the beginning of 2021, but he's still effective in spots when you move him out to edge, when you're strategic about it and you're moving him there at the right time and kind of switching things up on the opposing offense. It's very effective, but it doesn't work when you move him out there full time. But the Chiefs they've learned when to use Chris Jones out on the edge, and it's really a thing of beauty. Show me baseball. Braden, nice to see you. He says Jerron Reed had 8 tackles and 1.5 sacks. Then I texted Kelly Blackburn. Well, good for you, Braden, and good for Jerron Reed. Maybe you should tell Connor about it, because I was kind of an advocate for the Jerron Reed signing when he came to KC. Connor was not. I will say, though, our defensive line coach, Brendan Daly, who's now the linebackers coach, I didn't really believe in him. I'm very glad that they brought in Joe Cullen. I think he's done wonders for this defensive line. George Karlaftis, he stood out today too. Rushed very well. I want to say I saw a tweet right before this, I think, that said he had 3 pressures today. And he was great at tracking Justin Fields down in the flats too when he tried to run outside the pocket. George Karlaftis was basically with him step for step and kept him from really doing anything or killing the Chiefs with his legs. I'm really excited for this defensive line once Charles Omenihu gets back. I don't think this pass rush is going to be 2018 good, but it's probably going to be the best pass rush they've had since 2018. I'm really excited for it. And Marlon, he says, George is looking better than most edges. Josh, I will never forget when you dislike the pick. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the pick. Most people know that. But I always said that he was going to have a high floor. I just don't think his ceiling is super high. And look, I love George. I love what he brings to this team. I love him as a defensive end number 2. I still think that's his ceiling. I still think he's a number 2 defensive end at best. He doesn't have a lot of bend. Felix Inudeki-Ozama should ideally be this team's number 1 defensive end at the height of his development. He should be better than George Karlaftis at the height of his development. That's just my opinion. I love George, but he's not quite the speed rusher that the Chiefs needed before they brought in FAU. So good for George, though. I don't want to make it seem like I dislike him. A lot of people mistake my critique of him for being a dislike. I don't dislike George. He's a good pass rusher. I like what he brings to this defensive line, but I think he's a defensive end number 2 at best. And it's not a slight to George. HFA Recon says, wouldn't be surprised if we duplicate this performance against the Jets next week. Yeah, the Jets look awful. Zach Wilson ain't any better than Justin Fields. The Jets and the Bears are, quite honestly, 2 of the worst teams in the league right now. That game should also be a cakewalk for Kansas City. HFA Recon also says, is it just me or has Malik Herring gotten bigger? Dude looks huge. Malik Herring's always been a big boy, man. He's probably gotten bigger. I mean, he's had a few years with this team, and I'm sure has hit the weight room a lot. But yeah, it's nice seeing him have a rotational role in this Chiefs defense. I like his pass rush upside, but he never got extended opportunity with this team. But he came in here as a UDFA, coming off a torn ACL, beat out Joshua Kando to make this team. Props to Malik Herring. He's really worked hard to get to where he's at. So, man, overall, it was just a great day for the Kansas City Chiefs. I loved everything about this game. You escaped relatively healthy. Andy Reid said after the game that the only true injury was to Prince Tega Wanaga, who's dealing with a left quad. I know we saw some different guys go down at different points, but it seems like most of those injuries were minor and not really noteworthy. So that's good when you come out of a game healthy. Luckily, nothing too serious with Patrick Mahomes. Another guy that I want to shout out, though, Montrell Washington, the kick returner. This guy is awesome. This guy came out of nowhere too. Like when I saw that the Chiefs had elevated him, I was like, "Who?" I'm well versed in Kansas City Chiefs football. I know most of the roster. I know most of the practice squad. I did not even know Montrell Washington was on their practice squad, but they promoted him shortly before this game. They put him back there at kick returner with Richie James going to IR. I love this guy. He's the best returner we've had in years because what I love about him, he's fundamentally sound. He doesn't do anything stupid. He's good with his returns. There was even a play in which Joshua Williams damn near caused Montrell Washington to muff the punt or muff the kick, and he held on to it anyway because Joshua Williams ran right into him, almost screwed everything up. But Washington was poised. He caught the ball. He held on to it. I like this guy. Keep him around just strictly to return kicks. I really like Montrell Washington. Shout out to him, surprising me in his first game with Kansas City. Once again, guys, though, I'm probably going to wrap this up in just a few minutes. But for those of you that are here, any questions, comments, anything Chiefs related, put it down below, and I will be sure to get to it because I'm going to be talking to you guys tonight with Michael Darcy not being here. Kind of last call for anything like that. Going to look at some more post-game quotes from the Chiefs. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on Taylor Swift, though. It looked like she had fun at the game. That thing's getting serious, man. She's up there in Kelsey's suite. Seems like she's going to be sticking around with Chiefs Kingdom for a while. And I'm kind of wanting to say that Taylor Swift may be dethroning Gracie Hunt as the queen of Kansas City. Sure seems like it. Because, I mean, the camera was on her all day today. It's like after every single Travis Kelce catch, after anything good happened, it's like they pan the camera over to Taylor. And if you guys thought Brittany Mahomes was bad and her stuff, just wait until Kansas City Chiefs games are 50% Taylor Swift. Because that's what's going to happen. Patrick Mahomes said that if he didn't know if Travis Kelce was serious when he told him Taylor Swift was coming to the game because he said it to him so casually. Mahomes hopes that if they get together, he will get to meet her one day. That would be pretty cool. I hope it works out for the both of them. That would be really fun. Uh, Patrick Mahomes said that the ankle issue scared him a little initially since it was the same ankle as the last injury, but he said he made it through the game fine. He confirmed he would have been able to stay in the game had it been more competitive. I love how he just casually throws the had it been more competitive, just like the Bears suck, man. And that's like the nice way of saying it for Patrick Mahomes. Jarek McKinnon said the running back room was looking for a hat trick today, meaning they wanted all three backs to score a touchdown, and they got it. Uh, yeah, I mean that's really all of it, guys. Chiefs took care of business against a far inferior team. They didn't play down to their competition. That's all we wanted to see. The offense seems to be back on track. They have some momentum now to carry over to next week against the New York Jets. Marlon says, talk about Trent McDuffie. I kind of noted him a little bit earlier, but yeah, he's been awesome. He's sticky in coverage. He doesn't really get targeted all that often, which is a good thing. You know, you always hear about these cornerbacks getting a lot of interceptions, like Trayvon Diggs, for example, which I know he just tore his ACL for the Cowboys. So that was really unfortunate. And practice, too. Like, that always sucks when you have an injury like that in practice, not even a game. But Trayvon Diggs is a guy, like, I remember a few years ago, had like 7 interceptions, led the NFL in interceptions, but you could poke holes in Trayvon Diggs' game because one of the reasons he had so many interceptions is because he was getting tried so much because teams felt like they had an advantageous matchup against him. Trayvon Diggs is a good corner. Don't get me like he's good and he's a good man-to-man corner, but he struggled in certain matchups and teams would pick on him. And when you're getting targeted so much, some of those targets are probably going to be interceptions. If you're anywhere near a decent cornerback, McDuffie is kind of the opposite, in which he's not creating a bunch of turnovers, but it's because they don't really target him, man, because like he's a blanket in coverage, and he's one of the few Chiefs DBs that I feel like actually has any ball skills. I love the Chiefs DBs, but man, it seems like these guys lack ball skills. HFA Recon says, despite the other guys needing extensions, Chris Jones has to stay on this team for the rest of his career, in my opinion. I 100% agree, HFA Recon. And I'm not sure how much of my Chris Jones content you caught over the offseason and over the first few weeks of the Chiefs season, but I was banging the drum for Chris Jones and him getting extended and how he deserves to hold out and get paid because he's worth it. He knows how much he's worth. And every week, he's showing how important he is to this Chiefs defense. And the Chiefs better pay up, man. But Michael did talk about a little bit on our past Kingdom crew about how he thinks one of the reasons for the Patrick Mahomes restructure was to potentially restructure again this offseason to open up cap space for a Chris Jones extension. I hope he's right. I don't know if the cap arrangement would allow for that after the Mahomes restructure, but it's interesting that he brought that up because it made me think about it a little bit. But yeah, this team needs Chris Jones. Like, I don't know how many times I had to say it. Chris Jones, he's too important to what this defense does. You weren't going to be able to repeat in 2023 without him. I'm just happy he's back out on the field for this team and all that drama is over. But we are going to have to revisit it at some point towards the end of the season because this team needs to find a way to keep Chris Jones on this roster. But yeah, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I appreciate you all tuning in tonight, those of you who could. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on tonight, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are trying to catch Sunday Night Football. But yeah, Chiefs took care of business. They're 2-1. That win over the Jaguars, though, isn't looking all that great because the Jaguars really crapped the bed today against the Houston Texans. The Jaguars might be frauds this year, guys. The Jaguars are officially on fraud watch. Trevor Lawrence is officially on fraud watch. I know they were a popular pick this year for a lot of people to make a deep run in the playoffs, but maybe just we got a little bit too far ahead on them. Maybe we jumped the gun a little bit on the Jacksonville Jaguars. But nonetheless, Chiefs are 2-1. Control what you can control. You can't control the team that you're playing. All you have to do is win. That's all you're worried about. And the Chiefs won today in convincing fashion. They were able to basically decide this game by halftime and pull the starters. So, yeah, couldn't ask for much more than that. But with all that being said, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. I'll see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!